should have brought our little tripod thing for our Instagram.
Did you get the shirt? Nice way to represent. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. I see you guys.
I know these guys.
I see you guys.
I can't prepare.
I know our wardrobe is all like new prep.
Hey.
We try to
Yeah.
Own it though, you know.
Right? Nobody's gonna represent better than yourself.
And then
Yeah.
it's like easier. You don't have to think about like what you're wearing. You got the same
I was
option
gonna
every
say, yeah, the
day.
colors, so blue or black or red, yeah, got it.
For sure.
Sounds good though so far.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a little closer.
See?
Whisper.
Yeah.
So how we're gonna do this? We're just gonna open up. We've got a little intro, and then we find it better if we don't introduce you for you.
Okay.
We're just gonna say tell us about yourselves, and then whatever you want to say. From there, I've got a bunch of questions that I'm loaded with. He's got a couple he's loaded with. They're all gonna tie in, but.
No,
Oh shit, I should probably get my phone in case there's some questions that
Oh, I know we had that post.
We got a
Mr.
couple questions
Fury,
from some of our
Yeah.
listeners. Yeah. So.
And
So
then
how many podcasts are you guys on so far?
This is 45.
Number 45?
This
Yeah.
is episode 45.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jordan's comeback.
That's a lot of
right?
work, huh?
It's
That's a lot of
ready
work.
to come back, yeah.
you got the 45s on, Jimmy?
Oh, I never got the 45.
He's
so
got
we-
the
we
45s
set,
on,
you
so
know.
he's
We
good.
set today, man.
We should just take the picture of that as a cover.
Everybody knows what it is.
He's all working out and then doing these jump lunges and I'm like, dang, he's jacking up the 45.
That's what they're made for, right?
Shoes are meant to
That's what
be
they're
worn.
made for.
Shoes are meant to be worn.
I thought that was just the girl song. Boots are made for walking.
Yeah, she's
Don't apply them to Jordans though. Alright.
May.
ready for the check?
My.
Check. My.
like
Mai Tai,
Like
like-
my tie.
like-
Exactly.
Say my tie. I like my tie.
Yeah, yeah.
Ladies.
My.
Check.
Check. Ready? You got it? You gonna do the intro?
No, you got the what's happening. I suck at that.
You need to do something.
Okay.
Alright. Cool. What's happening, guys? Episode 45, Nothing to Lose podcast. I'm Tony. I'm joined by my co-host, Joey B.
That's me.
Yeah, I think they know that right now.
So yeah,
We're
45
also,
later.
we're also joined by who?
So we've got the owners of San Diego's probably most popular meal prep company, the meal prep company, Mai and Jimmy. Go ahead and say hi.
Hey
Hello,
everybody.
Yeah, a little
Awesome.
closer, Jimmy. There you go.
So tell us about yourselves.
So yeah, my background is sports. You know, I come from a sports background, so that's where the whole meal prep kind of really came involved in my life. And that's the passion. That's the passion of my life. So, you know, that's what fuels the whole grind. You know, when it gets really tough. You know, just the sports and seeing other people play. And of course, I get to do it with my wife. You know, doesn't hurt to have that.
Awesome. What about you, Mike?
So recently I just became a mom, which that was
Congratulations.
we've been together for really 11 years. We celebrated 11 years, so we started really young, and it was always just me and Jimmy. Everybody always just got to know me and Jimmy. So now that we are a pack of 3, that's been exciting for me.
That's awesome.
Now we got responsibilities.
Fun's over.
Like real responsibilities. And we've been doing the business now for 4 years legally. Like 1 year was kind of haven't really fully registered the business, but yeah, that's what we do. I'm a mom, try to be more than part-time, and then other part-time we do business together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, you have a background in sports. I'm assuming personal training, or were you an athlete at one point in your life?
Right. No, I was actually an athlete. I used to play baseball back in high school, college. You know, that was my dream. You know, to begin with. You know, I wanted to be a major league baseball player. Unfortunately, fell into injury. You know, but like I said, bad things happen for good things. So that's where this kind of developed. I was at a restaurant. You know, we had a restaurant, family restaurant, to where I kind of learned the cooking experience. You know, so it kind of comes second nature, but I still had the athlete background to me.
Oh, you guys are beating me to all my questions here.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, I mean, my background. There's a lot. Goes into my background, you know, but I can't really pinpoint, you know, that transition, because I love baseball. You know, I still love baseball, but it really now it doesn't really define me. You know, now I work with athletes. You
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a passion. That's like I said, what's fueling the grind, a daily grind is I get to work with professional athletes. You know, some of these
Yeah.
people I used to look up to, I get to work with now. So it's like
That's okay.
I feel like I'm right where I need to be.
Do you think
know?
if you still made you went that baseball route, do you think this would be after your life after anyways? Or you
Right. Everybody
Hell
thinks
no.
about
No.
that.
You wouldn't have met me.
That's true
So-
though. No, I wouldn't have met her, you know. So no, I still have my back in my mind like I want to go back and play baseball again, you know. I still play softball, you know, with a couple friends and stuff like that, but it's not the same. You know,
Yeah.
I have that competitiveness to me, so you know, I kind of put that into all aspects of life, to marriage, to our business. So I feel like, you know, I took something from baseball. It didn't exactly, you know, leave me with nothing, you know, and now, like I said, I get to actually talk to these other athletes about nutrition and this and that, and I'm the professional in their eyes, right? So it's
That's awesome.
like, you know, I want to do both. I would love to do both, but I don't think I would find this passion if that didn't happen.
Okay.
I wouldn't find the restaurant, wouldn't find the cooking aspect if that downfall didn't happen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Mai, do you have like a sports background as well, or?
Hell no.
No?
Nope.
Yeah, she's a cheerleader.
Well, I
that's an
mean,
athlete. They
it's
do
not.
some crazy things.
Yeah, I don't consider myself an
She's really
athlete.
competitive.
No, I just watched athletes. Does that count? No.
I was gonna say that counts.
That
you know,
counts, okay.
at least you had an idea. You
Yeah.
know, at least.
You know how the game goes, you know.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, you know, the big thing we want to talk about is the company, right? Like, we would
Oh,
love
okay.
to know about the start. We'd love to know about the struggle, and then we also want to know like the roles, because we got a bunch of questions from our listeners. Thank you, listeners, and a lot of them had to do with you know, dealing with working with your spouse.
Yeah.
You guys seem to pull it up real well, but I want to get into that later. But what about you two? Are you born and raised in San Diego? Are you from different places? You know, like, tell us more about like who you are as people aside from the business.
Yeah, no, I've grown and lived in San Diego my whole life. Luckily, you know, both my parents were in the military, you know, so like I could have been traveling all over the world, changing different schools, but luckily they both got stationed in San Diego.
That never
And we
happened.
stayed, yeah, that
Yeah.
never happened. So
Never
I mean, I
happens.
stayed here, you know, I'm spoiled, you know, like I'm never gonna leave San Diego. I don't care where it is. I have to work harder, but no, like I love San Diego. It's my hometown, so that's why, you know, like another thing is like I know so many people in San Diego that, you know, growing a business was even easier because I had a lot of support.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with Mai. You know, she grew up here as well. You know, she'll tell you about her story though.
Yeah. Well, my parents immigrated here from Mexico, and so I wasn't born here, but they immigrated our entire family when I was really young. I was probably, I think, 9, 10 months old. So I was raised here all my life. I learned the culture here and everything. I grew up in East County, so
Where?
we moved to the box.
El Cajon?
Cajon.
Yeah.
Us too. Nice.
Yeah, I grew up in El
Like
Cajon.
looking at me all the time.
Yeah. I'm trying to reference, you know, for the East County. But yeah, I grew up in East County, and then as soon as I could get out of there, you know, the heat and
The people.
I mean, the people were alright, but it definitely El Cajon started to change, you know, through the years. But
Mhm.
happy to have made it out of there, and yeah, that's kind of so. San Diego's been my life, yeah.
That's awesome. So what part of Mexico is your family from?
We are from a place called Guanajuato. A lot of rich history, and then we are from a very small town, very, very small. It's
Very
called
small.
Benjamín, Guanajuato. So yeah,
Okay.
there's not much to say about that place.
Yeah.
I wish I had
Yeah.
really cool things to say, but no.
Well, I mean, she's being humble about it. I mean, I went to go visit her family and everything like that, and they come from very humble beginnings.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
it's a whole different lifestyle, you know. Like obviously over here it's like high pace.
Sure.
I mean, over there it's like, you know, she's serious. It's a small town. Everybody knows everybody, type of thing, you know. So we went over there. It's like her parents were celebrities, you know. It's crazy. You know, you made it out of here. You know, you're coming back, and you know, you still appreciate, you know, the friends and family you grew up with, you know. But you know, even her grandparents, stuff like that, they live a whole different lifestyle. You
Yeah,
know,
very
and
slow.
they're happy. And they're happy. You know, it's
Yeah.
just they know differently. But no, you know, like you know, she came young, you know, so she was introduced. And it was an opportunity from her dad and her mom. They created something great for all the kids. She's not the only kid, you know. She has what, 4?
Let's
Get
go.
that wrong. I'll get that wrong.
Fact check me real quick.
Double check it.
Yeah,
Two
we're a
brothers.
big family. We're
Two
a
brothers
really
and
big
3
family.
sisters,
Yeah.
you know. So she has a lot of family, but you know, it's a very tight niche family.
Yeah.
very tight knit, cousins, everything. You know. It's
We
very
all know
rich.
each other's business. That's a good thing or a
That's
bad thing.
dangerous.
I
Yeah,
know.
So, coming to America though, did you guys like have a lot of money, or was it sort of like that?
No,
that
we
became-
were. I mean, if my dad could tell his story, it is one of the most inspiring stories ever for me. When I ever am going through anything, he really is my light. He is my path. Because he has been through so much and came here with absolutely nothing at all. And for him to have accomplished what he's accomplished in his lifetime, there's literally no excuse the way that I look at life.
What did your dad do?
So when he first came, like just in general for living,
exactly.
for living. So he did gardening work forever. He first was like a janitor, was like his very first job, and luckily, you know, he was blessed to have a really amazing boss at the time that helped him get all his paperwork correct and everything, so he could legally start coming to the United States, because he would go back and forth, he'd work, go back, he was doing it illegally, but he was trying to save as much money as he could, so he could start bringing us over, so many of us.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it, but you know, eventually he was able to bring and have us all here together, and he put his whole family through just doing landscaping and yard work, and that's basically all he did, to owning 3 homes and building 3 homes over there, to just being really successful.
Oh, wow. Keeping the family
Yeah.
together too. That's that's inspiring to me. It's like some of the family members didn't even meet each other until later on in life. You know.
Oh yeah.
We just had our first kid, and just imagining not being with him one day, he was without them for months
Years,
at a time,
yeah.
years at a time,
Yeah.
just hoping for the best. It's nothing guaranteed. It's nothing
No, yeah.
guaranteed,
Of course
especially.
not.
But
Yeah.
he's just aligned with the right people, good people that, took care of him, and then, he saw the greatness in him as an individual, and, he still upholds that, I believe.
And they're like a shining light, like I said, a path for me, but not only just like my work ethic and our work ethic, but our relationship as well.
Big time.
Because you see, they've been through so many tribulations that they've learned so much, and parents and grandparents in general, we have a lot to learn from them. And sometimes we tend to like hush them out, but really, if you sit down and pay attention to their struggles and to their life lessons, you can take part of those life lessons and apply them to your very own. And I look to that a lot when it comes to our relationship as well.
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah, that's a great example. If your dad can get through, working across the border, supporting a family, and then of course not seeing you guys for so long, then what's a fight over laundry, right?
Yeah,
or like what's a fight over,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's helped you in
That's
parenting too now, because like now you have your little one, and now you see how he parented you guys, and you're like, oh, like.
Yeah, and not say they were gone quite a bit because they worked a lot, right? But my
better
sisters,
than you, I had to be here for him.
my sisters and my brothers taught me a lot. I was almost the second to youngest, so they pretty much raised me. My sisters raised me, but an absentee parent has, it didn't affect me because I knew they were working hard,
Right.
and when they were home, they did their very best to pay attention to 6 kids.
yeah. So at a very young age, you already understood like the concept of sacrifice for people that you love, right?
Yeah.
So you understood, oh, my dad isn't making all of my cheerleading, conventions,
Yes.
but he's doing something else
Yes.
for our benefit.
Yeah,
That's
my
awesome.
mom tried. There's times that she couldn't make it either, but she tried and she could, and he tried when he could.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I almost have the same type of background, I guess you could say, because both my parents were in the military.
Yeah.
So they were away both at the same time, sometimes for 6 months at a time. So I had to deal with that struggle of I know they were gone. I was too young to really understand. Cry my eyes out. Just wondering why they won't come back and stuff like that. I was young. After a while, you start to realize that they're away for a reason. And of course, the news and this and that. You start to come a certain age, you start to see the bad things going on in life. I'm like, they're in a dangerous area, they're in a dangerous spot, and anything could happen, and
Yeah.
friends from school, their parents or, their cousins, died, like, it's a possibility. So it's like, it's almost like we're coming from 2 different backgrounds, but it's almost the same type of sacrifice background that kind of put us together, that makes us appreciate each other.
Yeah. The stories are very, very similar. You know, like you guys both had parents that made large sacrifices for the benefit.
I'm like barely making this connection right now. I'm like, oh my
Oh.
god.
Just like looking at him like,
Yes,
damn, yes.
so much
So
in
we didn't
common.
talk about that.
Oh, baby number 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So-
I'm gonna have to borrow your bedroom. Chad, are you okay?
So your parents were deployed when you were a kid then?
Oh, every
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it was all the time. Like my grandparents mostly took care of me, and my uncles used to stay with my uncles all the time. And like there's times where 6 months at a time, every year, it's like military, life was not the best, for being a kid. Granted,
Right.
I understand the benefits. Obviously we got compared to obviously it's night and day, right? But it's the concept of like kids do even appreciate that. They don't even appreciate it nowadays. And I think looking back on it, like that's the one thing I could kind of repay them back is just to show them that I appreciate them and what they did.
Of course.
I can't pay them back for that. It's like I can't pay them back for it, but I could show them by just respecting them, respecting my wife, respecting just what they taught me from the sacrifices. That really helps out. And then I see her family. It's like, damn, now I see a whole nother perspective of things. It's like the more I could learn from these mentors. I call them all mentors. Parents, family. They have stories. And like wrong choices, good choices. It's all stories.
Yeah.
So that's where we can make our own book. We can make more right choices. Hopefully.
You're supposed to.
Oh,
Yeah.
Supposed to, right? Yeah.
But you previously mentioned off air that you've been together for 11 years. 11
Yeah.
years. Obviously, you guys are not 11 years old. You're older than that. So where were you in your lives when you met each other? And did you think that it was going to evolve into something this great?
I mean, I'll go first.
Okay, I'm like, first of all, we met on MySpace.
No.
That's not far
That's
back.
throwback,
Right? It's not far back.
like super throwback, right? Like.
But I mean, it's one of those mutual things. I guess supposedly I added her as a friend, but she messaged me for my number. So
Whatever.
Who
You can have
who
that.
had
You
to
can have that.
top one first? Though?
oh man,
I don't
know about
remember.
that. That's one of those things we're not gonna talk about. No.
MySpace. Okay,
but-
so
About me.
yeah, you guys, you guys have made it through like many stages of social media.
Social
then
media.
MySpace,
Oh, big time.
Facebook, Instagram,
Doesn't
Snapchat.
even phase us. Doesn't even phase us.
Doesn't even. All right.
Yeah,
Damn.
we were in college at the time.
Oh yeah, that's a college stuff.
He was in college, I was still in college, and I was barely getting into my, it wasn't really a career, it was more of a sales job that I had at the time, and Jimmy was just going to school full time, and so
She met me after my injury. So after my injury happened, I was already going through rehab. I wouldn't say I bounced back yet because I was still in like a depression kind of stage. It got pretty bad, after the whole injury. I couldn't do the same things I used to do, like just normally. I tore my shoulder, so it was a rotator cuff, so I was a catcher, so I couldn't throw the ball the same. My accuracy wasn't the same. And, it was one of those things I was trying to get it back, and I was going to a community college after coming from, a big college, I was going to Cal State San Marcos playing baseball with, the big boys, and it was a tough, transition for me, and I had to kind of think about, this route or that route, and I feel like, she came just at the right time.
So pretty much when you guys met, like you really weren't in a good place.
I wouldn't say so, no, I wasn't. I wasn't saying I still was hopeful. I was searching for
What's
the
next?
why. I was searching for the why. Like, why did this happen to me? Because you can only be so depressed for so long. But after a while, you have to get yourself out of that by figuring out, what's the reason why. There's always a reason.
If Mai didn't come into your life, do you feel like things would have been a lot different?
Oh yeah. I mean, she put me in line. She put me in line. She believed in me. She kept me focused. At this time, this is a little bit before that we started the restaurant. The family restaurant, and she was supportive, really supportive with that. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I don't think she knew what I was getting myself into. It's like getting into a restaurant. Those are long hours. When we first opened, it was 7 days a week, 13, 14-hour days.
Is the restaurant still open?
No. So that's, I mean, it goes into the story of like we had at least for 5 years, and it was her keeping me in line. You know, it kind of kept me focused on my true passion, which was fitness, nutrition, that aspect of things. And during the restaurant, like I said, we created like more of a healthy type of menu type of thing, to where she just kept me focused on that, and she believed in what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
So when I was studying, I was still studying in the restaurant. You know, still my downtime was probably from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So I have to take online classes. I couldn't leave. You know, I pretty much said, I was gonna stop college, full time type of thing, and then help my family out, making sure that they weren't gonna lose the restaurant. It's just they didn't know what they were getting themselves into either.
Their military background, all their life it was military. When they retired, they retired when Jimmy was in high school.
They were doing 20 years, 23 years,
Yeah.
retired. This is life after
It's a hobby.
that. What's that?
Is it a hobby or was it just
Well,
like?
it was my dad's. He was a hobby. Like I was playing baseball, right? So we used to every game. Like it was a tight knit baseball scene. So we would come back to the house and all the guys and barbecue all the time. It was just our thing to do, and I was always with them. Just like watching them barbecue, this and that. We used to go out with the family and up in Texas, and obviously that's where that good barbecue is. So I mean, I was very familiar with real barbecue, and what we kind of see nowadays. So
It's like Phil's.
Yeah.
It's all a way of things, but the barbecue that I used to do was smoked barbecue. So when it comes to smoked barbecue, you're talking brisket, 18 hours.
Yeah, hours. I love the Food Channel, so I know all of
Barbecue, like I said, competitions, and then during the restaurant, we got good. We went to Salon, Bejas, we were killing the competition. Phil's is one of them that was there, and we smashed Phil's. We did a competition with NBC and smashed Phil's with the ribs, greatest ribs in San Diego. We did some really good things at the restaurant.
What happened to the restaurant? This sounds so good.
No, it was really good. We would have the line out the door. We were doing, weddings. There were 200, 300 people every week, 2 times a week. But all that is great, but we had to be there.
Yeah.
Right? So that was
And I think we're gonna
days.
get to that point where like working with family can either work for you really well or it can work against you as well. So I think there was a little bit of that too. Not to say like anything bad, but it is a tough thing to do.
So I'm sort of putting all these pieces together. Like, this is great for your current business, like the meal prep company, because you've got the sales background, right? You've got the nutrition background plus the cooking experience. So now it like makes more sense, because your company currently is very popular. It's extremely popular, and I want to get into some of the things you cook because just like viewing it, it's not traditional like chicken and rice. It's not like that BS. You guys have terrific things. You have options. You've got. I saw beef on there. Everything looks glazed and delicious, and it's like it looks great. So
Tastes great.
It looks not healthy, right?
no, which is awesome though. It looks like it wouldn't be so macro nutritious. It looks like it's.
I think like the highest one I get, I think like the highest in carbs is like 60, and that's what the lasagna or the meatball, like it still fits in any macros out
It's
there.
crazy to me. So I'm definitely gonna ask where the creativity came with how you made delicious ass food that's still super healthy,
Yeah.
but the background is coming together. Right?
Yes.
So now listening to the stories, I can see it merge.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when it really started to merge was when Jimmy, we were really weighing out the option of the restaurant or to go with the meal prep. And my whole thing about life in general for Jimmy was, I'm happy to stand on the sidelines, but I want to be here to cheer you on, to do something that you're always going to be happy about. But as I could see him being like not so happy about being at the restaurant, it was hard for me to support that, to keep pushing him to do really good. And it's one of the things to be loyal to your family, but we're already about 5 years into our relationship, and so it was time to also be like, hey, are we gonna even make it? Are we gonna push forward? Because we had already invested all that time. And so we kind of, I don't want to say like I forced him to do it, but in my mind, I no longer saw
She brought it out of me. It's like one of those things you don't want to disappoint your parents, right?
Never.
You never
Yeah.
want to
Everyone's
disappoint your
business.
parents. You always want to, you know, make them proud, right?
Of course, every
But
day.
this is one of those situations where I had to kind of go against it. I had to go against it to make myself happy. You know, like we used to bump heads all the time. Obviously, my parents have a military background, right?
Yeah.
So if it wasn't in line, guess what? I used to take a toll. You know, and I was there. You know, like I wasn't taking a paycheck home. You know, I wasn't. You know, I was literally skimming off tips. You know, living at my parents' house, just making it happen because it was a sacrifice. I understood there were sacrifices, so I wanted to make the same sacrifice in my mental, you know, mind frame. That's what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to make them, you know, disappointed. Then I had, you know, her over here too. You know, of course I didn't want to disappoint her. I seen her in my future.
Yeah, so you know, it was more of a driving force. I was working full time. I was going to school full time. I was making a really good salary for my age at the time, and so you know, I loved him to death, obviously. But it was also like, can we build a future together, or are you like gonna have to always be tied down to these commitments that you're not even really all that happy about? And so. You know, we really had this moment in our lives, and we like created a space where we weren't together for a very short period of time, so we could kind of like figure out where we were mentally. And then that's when he decided, like, hey, let's I'm gonna close down the restaurant and I'm gonna go full force with meal prep. And then I decided to quit my sales job and just like jump full board. And so we both just went like, right, you got nothing to lose. If you're with your best friend doing what you're both passionate about, like what can you lose, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a deciding factor. Like I said, after that 5
Well,
years,
you're all
it
in.
was a deciding
Yeah.
factor. You know, either you find a new place to get another barbecue spot, which is gonna put us more in debt. And like I said, during the 5 years, you know, there was a lot of negative things that kind of happened with, you know, business partners. They were
always.
taking money. You know, we took a toll. You know, we did good, and then, you know, in the back end, we got stolen from. You know, and it was one of those defining factors that I still had the fitness in my background. So I used to go to the gym, you know, during my downtime. Didn't get in the gym, and during my downtime, I would go 11 o'clock at night. Again, not seeing her, you know, I would come home, kiss her goodnight, go to the gym.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
It
this is
sucks.
not a lifestyle. This is,
Yeah.
but you know, that's what I was used to. So anything else, it would be simple. You know, anything else in my life would be simple. So I was like, all right, you know, I really love her. I really do. You know, I'm loyal to her. I'm like, I see the future in us. You know, so the second factor, all right, shut down the restaurant. We have, you know, some equipment that we could utilize and start out our apartment kitchen.
Well,
Right here in like North Park, Normal Heights area, you know, that's where we started on 33rd
It was no
Street.
bigger than this. It was no bigger than this. You know,
Yeah.
it was smaller than this actually.
It's smaller than this. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely have a big apartment. Like mine is small compared to this as well. But yeah. So going back though to when you had to make that decision about like, you know, continuing your parents' legacy versus creating your own.
Wow, yeah.
I think that it's important that your parents should have like understood that they also they should have wanted you to be happy too. Like they've already lived their life, and this is like a project after retirement. So now it should have been left in your hands to make your own, right? Like did you get pushback when you were like, Mom, Dad, we're shutting down shop and like I'm gonna?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it was unknown. You know, there was no meal prep companies out there. It was a concept, right? Luckily, during the restaurant, I was up in Poway, so I got to work with LT. I got to work with Drew Brees. I got to work with Sean Merriman. You know, I delivered to his front door. So you know, some of these people, I was like, man, like I see this in my future. If I just go the right path, I can see more of this.
Yeah.
You know, and these are athletes. You know, so I just really narrowed down on my studying. You know, and after that 5 years, she was very supportive. My best friend was very supportive. And we went full board. We went full board with meal prep, you know. This is before, like we said, we you know, plugged it in as an actual business. It was just like, all right, let's just hustle. You know what we got. So when I closed down the restaurant, you know, I had to get a job, obviously, you know, a regular job, and got a job smartly at a supplement store, where it was gonna fuel the actual business rather than a job that had nothing to do with meal prep. I wanted to set myself up to being surrounded about growing the business.
Can you name drop which store you worked for?
Of course. No, I love the family. It's Ultimate Sport Nutrition.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So
Ultimate Sport Nutrition. I
Yeah,
still have a close niche with them. Like that's, you know, it's family environment. It's a small business. You know, they understand that. You know, I was a small business. I went from, like I said, a restaurant, and I had to go to the humble beginnings, and Angel Sanchez, that's it's the owner's name, and Albert. They both, they were all supportive. They were all supportive. The group of guys that I worked with all believed in me. They were all supportive. So I'll literally do consultations at some of the Starbucks and the Stats and some of these places, and he was lucky enough to help me and let me use his back office. He was like, go ahead and use the back office. Your consults. Long term, it works out. He's seen the outcome of it, because I would sell, obviously supplements, but it started with nutrition, right? I would talk about nutrition. Do you even know what nutrition is about? Then I could sell them the supplements. When I used to sell supplements, I used to sell like $200, $300 packages, and the client will see results because I would set them up with actual meals and plans.
I love that. Yeah.
So it's more of a longevity of the client. So it looked, obviously, in business module, it looked great for him as well. It works in both concepts.
Building that rapport with the client is really what you want for having them come back.
Of course.
Because if you can sell them some BS pre-workout and like some protein that's not going to really do much, and then they'll just take it and leave and never come back because it's like, wow, it didn't work, let me try the next store, right?
You'll notice that these big companies, these corporate companies,
GNC,
and literally I had a job at GNC, and I had to decide.
Me too.
I had to decide. No, I didn't have a job yet. I went to her interview, I got that job, and I went to another interview because I was obviously doing more interviews than just one, and I always brought it up because I wanted to be very straightforward. This is what I'm doing, this is what I did, and this is what I'm going to be doing in the future. Can we work together? And I know GNC, of course, that's not going to work out, right? They don't want any competition. They don't, of course, they're not going to support that. So I saw myself, either I work with a big corporate company and get paid a little bit more, or I work with a small business, get paid a little less, but I create my own future.
Right. I like that.
So that's where I decided, like, all right, GNC is cool, but I'm gonna go with a small business. It was probably the best decision I ever made.
Cool. So paint us a picture. Okay. You just decided we're gonna do meal prep. You're kind of doing it under the table right now. What was your life like?
Oh man, we were young. We were having fun. I went from working 7 days a week, and now I could see my wife. Now I could take her out to lunch. Now I could.
We weren't wife and husband yet, but
we weren't wife and husband. We were in love.
I was just your girl.
We were in love. So we were young.
But I mean, like the cooking for 70 people out of your apartment, and like bulk buying at Smart and Final, like 80 pounds of whatever. And
well, we were at that time. We only had like 10 clients. We were small. It was like literally.
Before we made that, deciding that we need to get a kitchen because we're getting a little bit bigger than we should.
Yeah, it was.
Media license.
Just in case.
Health inspector, what?
Yeah, because I'm
So
coming
it
from a
was
restaurant background. I know what it really. Permits. You need your line. You need paper signed. You need to go through the city.
But it was easy at the time, because we didn't have that many clients. We could literally smash out a full prep with buying everything and finishing within hours.
Oh yeah.
It was like no biggie at all.
Awesome.
So
And I was
easy.
doing, like I said, I was doing it with my wife, my best friend.
That shit must have been
It was the best. It's like
16
coming home.
hours and then just finally cutting down your workload and then having time
To
to
one time a week.
Oh man! And like I
Yeah.
said, we started meeting like this big clientele. Like I said, we started working with Alliance, and some of those guys are like UFC, Dominic Cruz, Phil Davis, Travis Brown, and we were just rubbing elbows with great people. We're like, damn, our future's just gonna rise if we just play our cards right. We just need to do this correctly. If we're gonna be given the opportunity with these people, and they have to make weight. It's a huge, it's a huge opportunity, but we gotta set focus. So
diet is everything.
it is.
That's incredible. So you've already name dropped like 7 people right now about like your clientele, which is amazing. And I think that San Diego is like the perfect town because we used to have how many sports teams before the Chargers left?
I know.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So how did you make these connects? Did you know somebody who knew somebody, or did you just like slide in their DMs and say, hey?
Oh, MySpace. It was still MySpace.
Yeah, no, like I said, out of the restaurant, I knew some people, that used to come in and out of the restaurant. A lot of, baseball players, football players, same thing, UFC players. My best friend, David, he used to go and work at Alliance, and that's where he built up a lot of relationships over there with Eric DeFelro, and he was the head coach over there. With Jamie, and those people were great too. It's a small business that believed in a small dream, and they supported us. And they said, hey, we have this clientele.
So
see what you
what
can
they
do.
would do is they would host camps, right? So they would have fighters come from all over the world, and they created an area on top of the gym where they would board the fighters. So they didn't have like they had refrigerators, but they didn't have like a kitchenette or anything like that. And so the best training is gonna come with really good food as well. So they would let us come in and meet the fighters, and whoever wanted to hop on prep, that's kind of how it would work.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we got
That's
to meet a lot of
awesome.
people
Yeah,
that
it's
were
awesome.
It's
out
almost like you
out
guys
of
were like
the United
one of the
States.
first, you know,
Yeah.
you guys hop on it.
Man, like back in the day, like when we first started, I only knew of one company. It was up in Florida. Like I was looking all over line, like is a meal prep is even a concept, and it wasn't around.
It was so fresh. It was
It was,
so
it was
new.
a Sunday thing.
You
It
guys
was something
got
they
in-
did at home on a Sunday.
Yeah, you guys got in at such a great time that your company name is literally the market.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's like that is what you do.
Oh,
you
it
know,
was
like
crazy
that's
when
awesome.
we were
People
trying
want
to
the
find the
People want
name.
the
Yeah, when we were trying to find the name, it was like we were thinking about all these names and stuff like that, and I'm just
Throw out a
like,
couple that like didn't make it just for.
I can't even remember now. It was like before him and his buddy they had called it Bulk to Shred. Was
So
the first
concept-
original name, Bulk to Shred, right? Because it was like, all right, you know, we're gonna all these people to bulk up and do like a very clean shred, and then
It
they're just
doesn't roll off the tongue though.
right,
That's
and
cool.
then
Well,
all
like,
these
I'm over
females
here
were
talking
like,
to like a young girl or older girl or a guy that's has been that's not even a concept, it's
I
like
wanna
what does that even mean? What's bold? What do you mean?
yeah, they were like, the girls were like, I don't want to bulk, like I don't
Guys,
really
I
want to
wanna
get
eat
shred,
skinny.
yeah.
And it was like, it was a cool concept because what our concept is like carb cycling, so one day you're eating more calories, one day you're eating less calories based off your physical activity. It makes complete sense if you know what we're doing, but if you don't know what we're doing, it's like, I don't know, I don't want to do that, I just want to be healthy, so
So
but
yeah.
it was a cool start, right? It was a cool start. It was like, cool concept. It was our name type of thing. We represented it. We, like anything else, it's like something we came up and we were proud of it.
Oh man, that's awesome.
But yeah, then I was like, dude, let's just name it the Meal Prep Company.
Why not?
It's available.
Boom.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, go daddy. Oh, it's available. I'm buying it. $2.99. Like,
Right.
yeah. So that's how we came about the name.
That is literally the
Yeah, that makes
market.
sense.
Like you guys, absolutely. That's probably one of the smartest things, and plus it's so marketable, right? It's very transparent, and like nobody ever searches the meal prep company, comes across your meal prep company, and thinks, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Right.
It's very
Yeah.
it's very direct, transparent,
Sure.
and forward. I think that was one of the smartest things you guys decided to do. For sure.
Have you had offers? For people
Oh,
that-
yeah.
Yeah, in the beginning, I think we were like 2 years in, and somebody was like, "Hey, I wanna buy this whole thing. Like, I love your name, I love your website, I just want it." And we were like,
We like it too.
Yeah.
We just started, like
I was
this
like,
is
"But
a
I
baby.
love it."
Yeah, and it represents us, and it's like something we took from that was very small, and we're growing it. It's like we're watching a baby develop. Like we're still not ready to sell out. It's like I don't know when we will be. It's like it's something we created.
Yeah.
And now we have a baby. It's like something we can pass on to our baby now,
Yeah.
as long as we just keep on creating it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so like from that, because it sounds like in the very beginning, like you guys were pretty scattered, but somehow finding a way to connect the dots through like your sales experience, your clientele that you knew, your fitness background, and then the food had to taste good.
Right.
So
yeah.
who was in charge of the recipes and who did the bulk of the cooking, or did you outsource that? Or I mean,
No, it was Jimmy. So we had at that time we had hired our very first employee at that time, and she loved cooking too. She was like she was my roommate at the time, and well, she was my
That's fine, okay.
but she she was such a really good cook, and so just Jimmy and her sat in a room and took a pad out, and we're like, all right, like we have to look at this being macro conscious, protein and carbon and fat, and then how are we gonna garnish it? Because she was all about the look. So Jimmy was more about adding just like the nutritional stuff and making it taste good, but she needed to have it look good.
I like
And so
that.
they combined those two things together, and they came up with a menu. Once they came up with a menu, then they left the rest to me to put it in an Excel format that we can make it work.
So
It's all about
you were
preservation.
like the substance, right? Like what you were paying for, macronutrients, you know,
I know what you
protein,
need in
fat.
your body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My friend was like, I know how to make it pretty.
Yes.
Exactly. So with that
Exactly.
combination, this is terrific. This is terrific. It's not often that people admit when they
What they're good at.
no. When they like got help. You know, like some I mean, if you were to ask anybody else, you know, they'd probably be like, oh yeah, like I cooked all this and like I made it nice, but it's really refreshing to listen to you guys tell us about the help you received.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our listeners, you know, they might want to start their own business as well, but they've got this like paradigm in their head that like I've got to do, yep, I've got to do this, I've got to follow up, and like they just run themselves through the shredder, and by the time they're done, like they're in debt, they're exhausted, their hopes and dreams are shit on, you know. So it's nice to listen to two people who are really successful with their field say like, no, like we definitely had help, you know.
Yeah, you have to be open with ideas, you know, it's the only way you're gonna grow outside the bubble, you know, like I said, like my cook background is from my parents, you know, like they taught me everything I know, they literally taught me everything I know, so I took what they taught me and put my little twist to it. I was like, I'm OCD, I'm a perfectionist, you know, so I'm never gonna do things half-assed, so I wanted to make things perfect. When it came down to, like I said, barbecue background, that's protein, you know, so I had that on lock. Within 5 years, we estimated 1.6 million pounds that I've cooked, you know, in 5 years. So experience, yeah, I got experience,
Yeah.
you know, but if I can make it more of a macro dense and you know, making it look pretty, I don't care, man. I don't care.
Exactly.
I'm a guy, you know, I eat calories for calories. I don't care, but you know, understand another perspective. It has to be appealing too for everybody. It
Yeah,
has to look appealing.
His background really with the restaurant, they created really awesome recipes that were their own. So they created their own barbecue sauce from scratch, and then they created their own rub for their like 13 spices and seasoning. So
God
I mean,
damn it.
with that alone, I mean, you can put that. You can literally put that and like try your taste palette. It just
Put on
will go
everything.
crazy
Follow
because
him
It's
on
just like-
Facebook. Just see the pictures he posts like when he does barbecues or something.
I know. That's my go-to. I always post pictures. That's
You know,
my go-to.
Growing up in the hood, we also had that. It was called Lucas, right? Awesome.
It's not candy.
Yeah, right.
Don't tell my wife that. She doesn't know that.
So, man, that's awesome. So, you know, let's say that you were presented with a brand new client, and let's say it's someone big, like for instance, Michael Jordan. You know, let's just throw that name out there. And he was like, okay, like I'm really interested in what you got, but I need to find out for myself. What is your go-to dish to just like blow his socks off? Like, what is your meal that is?
My go-to would
Yeah.
be.
No, Jimmy would say something like this. Oh no, I'm cooking at home personally for him.
Yeah.
He would be like, no,
I
I'm
would-
cooking at home personally for him. No,
No,
he's
it-
not. He would get the special
Red carpet
treatment.
treatment.
Yeah, for
So
real.
I would like to say that we have a hidden menu. You know,
Okay.
everybody should have a hidden menu. You know, that
Okay.
VIP menu, and it's like one of those things. It takes time. You know, it takes. I have to put the right music on. I have to, you know, I have to get in the zone and.
Tell us about it. Music of choice.
Music of choice is reggae, islander music all day, every day. Iration, you know. Revolution. Like that's my type of music. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'll just get into the mood, you know, get in the vibe, and it's one of those good feelings type of music. So you know, all that good feeling goes into the food. You know,
Jimmy
that's why I'm
loves
a
to make
believer in that.
steaks. He'd probably make him like
Yeah, I'm a steak guy. I'm a beef
filet
guy.
mignon,
Filet mignon,
probably,
you know,
or something crazy
Grass
like
fed,
that.
you know, just
Kobe
prime
beef.
cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean my favorite dishes probably for a lot of people, and this kind of blows people away, is the either beef ribs or baby back ribs. You know, it depends if they eat beef or pork, because it's really, we all have like 12-inch bones with thick meat, and it just falls right off the bone.
What does a Joey gotta do to get some of
You just said 5 years. You're doing it.
It's gotta be right there, right time at the right place. Yeah, I'll do it every once in a while.
Just bring Michael Jordan with you, you know?
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me just call him.
really
Yeah.
quick.
It's actually a listener.
You know, I thought they were making such a good connection, and I'm disappointed that you didn't say Drake. But we'll skip that right now. But all right, cool.
You got a question? Okay.
No. Oh, you know what? Tony had a really good question, which kind of just is gonna slide in right now. So
Do it. You made me think about it. But
all right, we'll just circle back.
but I'll get it right here. So you guys went to the whatever museum or museum of what, right?
Yeah.
You guys posted pictures or whatever, and then one of them Maya's pointing at loyalty.
Right.
So what is your guys' definition of loyalty?
Man, loyalty. It's a broad word. I'll go first. It's more than just obviously not cheating, right? You know, it's way more than just not cheating. You know, it's being there, you know, at our lowest point just as much as you're there at our highest point, right? It's just being that light in that person's life. It's just wanting to give more than, you know, you want to receive. You know, that loyalty, you don't want to hurt your best friend. So you wouldn't want to talk bad about them. You wouldn't want to even lie to them, let alone cheat to them. You know, and I think that honestly that says a lot about business and just business in general. Like, you don't want to work with cheaters. You don't want to work with somebody you can't be loyal with. You know, because they're gonna look for your best interest. And I feel if you're loyal, you're gonna get the same thing in return. You know, like you're gonna get the same thing. It's just it's the way it goes. But yeah, loyalty it's a lot more than just not cheating.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than that.
I think for me, very simply put, is you just put that person first before you think about yourself, and that will always make sure you're very loyal to that person. That's kind of what it is for me. I pointed it out because it's one of those things that that's kind of what's really pushed us to be where we're at today. The fact that as we get older and we start making connections with new people, you really start to see that there are quite a bit of snakes out there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's a saying that like people say, hey, they like to see you happy, but they don't like you see you doing better than them.
Yep.
Oh, we've talked on that for hours.
Yeah,
We'll
and
go back
so
and forth about it. And it's just a podcast.
yeah, and so you like grow up with and you see so many people as an adult now. I'm starting to see so many different sides of people, and so you know, loyalty to me is like, man, it's like the best thing you could give somebody.
Yeah, I know that you guys are new parents, but that's one of the reasons why I'm so afraid of being a parent myself. I don't have any kids, but for them to experience just like the shitty side of human nature. You know, like if I had like a son or a daughter and they ever went through disloyalty, you know, or feeling cheated or stuff like that, like I would lose my head, you know, because that's one of the worst feelings ever, is to feel like you've been betrayed.
Right.
You lose all your trust, and now you don't know what's up and what's down. So, yeah.
And I feel like, you know, we all have to go through that. You know, I feel like I've been cheated on, she's been cheated on, we've been, you know, like treated like crap, you know.
Even friends.
But I've learned so much from those experiences rather than obviously the people that treat me good, you know. Like, we tend to take that for granted, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they don't have to be loyal, but they are, you know. But the ones that are supposed to be loyal and they find out that, you know, like they're cheating on you or they're lying to you straight to your face. You
That
know,
hurts
it's like,
more.
oh man, it hurts. But there's a reason why. There's a reason why, right? The true colors have to come out. And it's up to you if you pay attention or not. Unfortunately, a lot of people just ignore those signs and they don't want to be uncomfortable, right? And walk away or walk a different direction and more focus on more of the people that are loyal to you.
Mm-hmm.
True.
So for any listeners out there, because you guys are obviously successful and you've dealt with your fair share in business of betrayal, right? For any young entrepreneurs that are kind of going through that, having second guesses, can you mention any like telltale signs or gut instincts that you guys went through that you could maybe say like, hey, look out for this, or, you know, keep an eye on this?
Yeah, so I think it's just, you know, the whole, you said gut, right?
Yeah.
And really that's one of the things where you gotta pick up, hopefully people are smart enough to be able to pick up vibes. We used to be at a kitchen, when we used to have to share a kitchen, unfortunately. The guy that owned that kitchen, the guys that were getting out of there, they had already kind of warned us, right? And so you kind of also have to pay attention to what other people have to say and experiences of other people you're going to be in their shoes here coming up, so you better pay attention to what they have to say. And so kind of always keep that in the back of your mind and listening to that gut, because those things are eventually going to come up and they're going to come out of that person.
Yeah,
And
it's
we
true.
experienced that, you know, at that kitchen. You know, he'd feel like he'd make it sound like he was like supportive and, you know, giving us tips and guidance, but all in all, really he was just like prying and trying to see like what we were doing, if he could raise the rent on us, or
How many clients
you
do
know,
we have? How many meals are you doing?
yeah,
It's
But they have so much staff coming through.
yeah.
Exactly.
You know, as he was watching us grow, I feel like he started to get a little greedy.
I actually want to make a correction to my statement, because this is the meal prep company. You gotta trust your six pack, right? Not your gut.
True.
So, you know,
True.
trust that
We're
six
working on that, right? We're working on that for
Trust
people.
Abs are made in the kitchen.
I'm like, what about a 4-pack? Does that count?
That counts.
Okay.
Trust that six pack.
So you're marketing now?
I mean, I'm stupid. I know. It just comes to me.
I think
That's the clip I'll play.
Trust your six pack. All
Trust your
right.
six pack.
Damn. You know, listeners already think that I'm dumb, so just for him to.
I didn't know. They think you're smart. You surprise them every time. Just like the questions. You
Wow. They assume I'm dumb. Okay. Thanks, fam. So what is next for the meal prep company? You know, do you guys have any new flavors coming out, or do you have any new dishes coming out? And then also going back to my original question though, how did you get so creative with dishes and maintaining the macronutrients? Like, where's your inspiration?
You know, my background, like I said, was nutrition, so
Yeah.
I made it known like this is how a meal should be set up, right?
But the
Properly
diversity though, it's so diverse.
Well,
so
that's
many
where,
options.
right? That's where you know her friend, you know, it all kind of blended together, you know, because the appearance had to be there, you know. But I feel like her and her friend were like artists, you know. They could draw a picture and make it look fantastic. They have that artist aspect to me. I don't, you know, like, you know, I'm straightforward. I'm a straightforward cutter. It's like, you know, it's this way, it looks this cut, hey, this is how it tastes. But, you know, when it came down to macronutrients, you know, I had the background with the, you know, meal plans and how it should be kind of based, how a good meal, a balanced meal should look. And this is what we want to present to people, is a balanced meal. We don't want anything that's like too dramatic, you know, for people, too harsh, you know, that like these competitor diets, you know, it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all, right? These are some of the unhealthiest people I ever met, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because they're depriving their body from so much to look a certain way. And,
Completely
you know,
agree.
and that kind of goes back to, you know, another reason why we changed the name to the meal prep company is, what is the meal prep company, right? I wanted to be more of a health, longevity concept to it,
Yeah.
right? Don't sacrifice your health for a certain look.
Yeah.
So we created like an ingredients list first. That's kind of what we started with. It was like, well, one, what can we source?
Cut out the processed food.
You know, what can we source? And then once we figured out what are the items we can actually source, then we put them all on a list and worked off of that list and said we're not going to go off from this list, and we created a rotating menu. So rather than it just be like the same food items every single week, we took the same ingredients and we just jumbled them up together, and then that was next week's menu.
Yeah.
Then jumbled them up again, and then that was next
Could
week's
be a
menu.
different sauce,
Yeah.
a different rub.
Yeah, but like, I mean, because there's so many different, like, you know, sort of variations of the type of food. You know, you've got like barbecue. I think there was a couple that was like a Mexican, you know, and like, you know,
Yeah.
maybe some Asian influence, you know.
Right.
So it's amazing that you could find different aspects of different taste palettes, because maybe somebody's favorite food is Italian, you know, but, you know, some other meal prep company just has fried rice, or they only have, you know, like meat and veggies, but somebody was like, damn, I can really use some pasta. I mean, where did you even come up with like the influence of finding different variations and the diversity of the palettes? You know, it's amazing.
I think
It
it
really
was
is.
it was the art background.
Yeah.
So one was Jimmy making the base of the nutrition, but literally my friend, she's an amazing artist. And so that's what she would do. She would, and since she loved to cook, she'd look at that plate and be like, it's too boring. There's not enough colors. You know, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, and then yeah, and then doing like the Mexican influence meal versus the Italian, and then the teriyaki and the salmon. You know, it was.
It just goes to show they cared about their customers. Like if you read, I saw like one of the articles that SD Boys really guys did last year.
Oh, yeah.
Is like the customer service. Like that's all we base ourselves on. Because there's meal prep out there that can cut the corners and just make it like, we'll do this exact meal for our duration, you know. And you guys switch your menu. You know, I look forward to that. Like I use meal prep to go, and you guys switch it, and then me and Jared are ordering, and we're like, oh shit, like they changed it. We got something new, something different to look for. You're not bored, because then that's where the customer comes back, and that's where the customer service makes you guys the top notch. Besides all these other ones.
You know, I've like never used a meal prep company like a day in my life, but like looking at the videos and the photos and like doing the whole background on like the company, I mean, I'm kind of
considering.
Yeah, you guys might have to apply.
I'll get you some ribs, man. I'll give you the VIP treatment. I'll take care of you guys.
Yeah, I get beef ribs only on my birthday, so you guys should be
You made it, man.
Put me on the spot right there. I guess I know I'm gonna get on the way home. It was all good.
So your clients though, I mean they're very diverse. Do you have any like vegetarian options that are still macronutrient, sufficient and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, we get asked that a lot. Again, we want to go back into the concept of creating a balanced meal, right? Like vegetarian it is healthy, right? It's full of antioxidants.
If you wanted to, though, don't.
Well, yeah, don't be wrong. It could be
there's a
very
lot of
bad
vegetarians
too.
out there that are not
Eating
very
French
healthy.
fries, eating things that are not exactly have meat sources, but it's full of sugar, it's full of processed, it's full of fats, and that could get out of hand as well. So we want to create a vegetarian menu, but we want to stick to the guidelines. We want to stick to being able to put it into MyFitnessPal and still create a more high protein diet for a lot of fat loss, because that's what people obviously a lot of people want is fat loss nowadays. That requires a percentile change in protein, carbs, and fats. I'm sorry, it has to. It's one thing is calories in, calories out, but you need a certain amount of protein in your
That's
diet.
awesome. I have so much respect for the science, because like the physiology of the human body is crazy, and to have that science to take this starting weight and then do the formula for their macronutrient count to set a like a weight loss goal per weekly basis, per 2-week basis, whatever it is, and then to follow through with like the actual sustenance that they're going to be consuming. The science is amazing.
There's so much variables go into it. Like we were blessed to work with one of our friends too. It's the Fit Lab, the Fit Lab SD, and they're Sean over there. He has a dunk test, RMR test, VO2 testing. So I mean, we could go in depth on these clients and really make it best suited for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the client appreciates. They're not just a number, right? Nobody just wants to be a number. They want to have some type of relationship, and that's another reason why we do the consults is they get to know us. I get to know each and every one that walks in that door. Me and mine, we both do consults, and they get to talk to us face to face. And we prefer face to face consults other than phone consults because again, we don't get to meet them. So whenever they get to meet us, it's like we built that relationship, and then that's where referrals come from. Like, hey, I went to this meal prep company, but it wasn't like the other 10 I just tried.
Yeah.
You should go try this one because I actually learned something.
Okay, so if you put the client first, if you're transparent, if you're personable, then the product's gonna sell itself. Right? All it takes is that human connection, that human interaction that you two so well provide, and then that's awesome. I have another interesting question though. So your food is all terrific, but for the most part it has to be reheated. So how do you ensure that the flavor, the integrity, and the food itself isn't damaged by the reheat?
Of course, this is something I go over during the consults as well. And I make it known. You can put it in the microwave. You can do this, but I'm a chef. I make it very known that hey, I'm a chef. Don't disrespect by just put it in the microwave. Don't disrespect me like that. Actually put it on a skillet. Put it. If you get ribs, you get some type of steak. Put it on the grill and heat it up properly. So that's where the true flavors really blend together. And like I said, the luxury of it is already being cooked. So it's cooked up to temperature, so where you can eat it cold if you want to, but if you want the flavor to blend together, you want the texture of the food, the crispiness,
Mm-hmm.
and the meals are quality, the restaurant quality meals. You just have to
Employee
prepare it right.
consistency is also really important. So you gotta have and that goes I think with just having a good base for your company where your employees are really happy where they're at, so you can maintain them. Because once Jimmy's invested the time in training them, you know, we are cooking hundreds of pounds of turkey, hundreds of pounds of chicken.
Yeah.
So for one tray, a few trays, you know, anything to come up and be messed up like that, you know, it's a big deal. So we definitely got to make sure that everything is on point, everything is coming out at the right time, everything is being rotated at the right time. So it's all about consistency, and if you can keep the same employees happy, they will do the job right, and the clients will be happy with the consistency of the food, even if it gets reheated again.
And don't get it wrong, like we've made mistakes, you know, we burnt chicken, we burnt, you know,
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
overcooked